I've been through so much change in my life, and it doesn't necessarily mean careers, but personal life, that I know change is always good. You have to take these times that are very hard or difficult and learn from them.
Welcome to The Next. I'm your host, Rob Grant, and you are someone who believes in the value of doing work you love in a place you belong, in a role where you bring real value to people, and that pursuing that goal is worth it. Here we celebrate the grit that it takes to keep going and the power of your story wherever you are in it. And today I'm so excited to introduce you to someone who is living out those values of pursuit and candidness and what I'm calling practical hope, Kimberly Bruso. Woo!
Hi,
Kim.
you just call me Kim.
Perfect. Well, Kim, I really appreciate you being here. Kim and I met through a post on LinkedIn, if you can believe that, where she was sharing a bit about what her job searches looked like and some of the things that she's doing. And maybe to kick us off, would you mind sharing kind of a 30,000-foot view of Kim, kind of some things that speak to who you are and where you've come from and where you are now?
Okay. Well, I live in Kennesaw, Georgia. And I came to Georgia probably 30 years ago. I lived in Florida for about 4 years. And then before that, I was born in Springfield, Mass. So I'm really a northerner. But I moved to Florida. And really just kind of, that was during my high school years. And honestly, I'll tell you the whole story because I'm first in my family to go to college. I am a high school dropout. I went ahead and got my GED and started my career in electronics. I started out at Tampa Tech, and then when I moved to Georgia, I finished up at DeVry and got my associates in electronics. So 1994 looked like for me, I climbed poles for a living. I was a technician for Noonan Cable. Charter Communications bought them out. So it was hard work. It was a 70-pound Werner ladder, fiberglass ladder. It was not easy. And of course, I had the gaffs and the whole thing, climb poles, just searching for outages and stuff like that. There was a health issue with that. So I got really, really ill from being out in the heat and wearing the long OSHA required sleeves and all, and did a career change. So I had already had my prereqs under me, went back to Chat Tech and decided to follow in my mother's footsteps. She had been a hairdresser, has been a hairdresser her whole life, as well as a teacher. She was also a runway stylist as well. And you might want to remember Linda Carter. She actually did Linda Carter's hair, and I think it was Miss Universe. But she was big name. Lots of people she knew.
She did Wonder Woman's hair.
She did. In her younger years. I can remember running around as a kid backstage, and even when she taught, I was in the classroom while she was out on the floor. But I remember I would take all the little mannequins and I'd set them up on the desk, and I'd pretend to be my mom. So, and I would teach the mannequins in the classroom and write on the chalkboard. That was my real young years. So, and mind you, I came, my dad passed away in Vietnam. I lost my brother a couple of years later. I saw him get hit by a drunk driver. I was across the street. I was 5 years old. So all of that kind of weighed heavy on my mother and I, but we got through it. We went through some rough times. I grew up poor. There were times when we might have had a can of beans for supper. And of course you can imagine mother gave that to me instead of her. But yeah, real poor background. You couldn't go to some of the things that they have today to get food. That just didn't exist back in the 70s. It wasn't available. There were no food pantries. So I can remember Mom taking me, and we went to a church, and she begged for food at a church, and they wouldn't give her anything. So tough times make tough people. unfortunately. But anyways, fast forward. I went and got my hair license. 1997 was only a few years later. I've been in hair ever since. I had two children by then. I was a single mom, and I needed to support my kids somehow, some way. And hair did that. So later on, my kids grew up, have a grandbaby now. I was looking at my coworker who was 60 at the time. This was probably 10 or so years ago. And I don't know if you know about hairdressing, but it's a very labor job, labor intense, because you're standing for 8 hours. Sometimes you get a break, sometimes you don't get a break. You're lucky if you get to go to the bathroom. So it's constant cutting, and you don't really eat that much. So it's like shovel food, but very taxing on the body, always holding your hands up, cutting hair. So the 60-year-old that was cutting hair, God love her, she's retired now, walking around with an ice pack in her back because her sciatics were killing her. Oh yeah, just back problems, leg problems. We suffer from varicose veins from all the standing and all the years. So anyways, I'm like, hey, man, and then seeing my mom the same way, turning into that same thing, I was like, I got to do something else. This is not going to work for me in my, later years of life. So I started behind the chair, unbeknownst to my clients. What do you do for a living? I started taking my own surveys from the people that came in regularly and the other people. And do you like your job? I'm sure you've sat behind or in a chair getting your hair cut and they've said, what do you do for a living? Right?
Right.
I took my own survey.
Absolutely.
I took my own survey. So a lot of them were happy with the accounting. So I was like, you know what? They were making good money. Everybody said they made good money and they're happy with it. So you know what? Let me go back to school for accounting. So I started back to school in 2015. Went ahead and got my bachelor's. Again, first in family, first to ever have a degree. So, and we're talking generations. Yeah. Didn't think I wanted my master's, but I went ahead and, went ahead and got my master's. So, it encouraged both of my children to go to school. So of course my son, who's 25 now, is doing, the game programming thing. He's almost done with his bachelor's and I'm so proud of him. But, in the meantime, so it was hard for me to find an internship. I did find one. It was not great, but I did find one. And that's 2020. But before I left the job I was at cutting hair, because I had worked for Hair Cuttery back in the day before they closed. Great clips, 7-minute haircut, and then went on to Supercuts because I like the color. I like doing color. I went to work for a post-secondary school, and that was a Vogue Beauty and Barber School. And I stayed there for about 3 years. It gave me a taste of what an office was like because I had never known one, never done any office work. So that set the foundation, gave me the option to go take my master's when I did that. 2020, COVID, went to another company, did my tax internship, came out. They weren't hiring. Nobody was hiring during 2020. Right?
Right.
Found a fellowship during that time to finish up my bachelor's. Went on to the master's, but before I got to my master's, I was hired on with an accounting company as an intern. The internship ended. They asked me to stay, which was great because I was doing things that, anything they asked me to do, I did. It was like, hey, Kim, do you want to do this? I was like, yeah, I'll do it because I want to learn it. That's always been my attitude. And, off to the side, I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn things. My whole life, I've wanted to learn this and that and the other. And I can't tell you, actually, my mother grounded me from doing any auto work. So I can't do any auto work anymore. I'm not allowed. That was a big no-no. But, that's a long story. But, went on, stayed there. I ended up staying there for 2 years. And my mother got sick. So I had to step down from that and take care of her here at home. So what did that look like? It was a lot of home care. She's better now. She's pulled out of it. She's an ace. So the great thing, move on. I found another company that I liked, that felt comfortable, corporate accounting company, mid-size. Everybody seemed great, great personalities. And that's what I look for. I look for personalities. You can tell when somebody has a business acumen or business personality and there's nothing behind the face. I want to work with people that have a personality, that are good-hearted, that hey, if I need some help, you're going to come help me with this and maybe answer my question, versus, oh God, I'm scared to ask who, who can I ask, and I'm not going to get yelled at. I will not work for people like that. I will literally leave, find something else to do, DoorDash for a living, because I'm not going to be unhappy. You see? So I think that's important to understand. You have to do what is good, what in your heart is uh, going to make you happy. Because if you don't, you're never going to be happy, and it's just going to pull you down. And when things pull you down, it's not good. So where I'm at now, looking for a job. There's a lot of jobs out there. So in the meantime, there's a lot of things I try to do on the side to survive, because now survival mode is kicked in. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
So, like looking at the kind of the transition, so you were able to go back, you were able to get this corporate accounting role. So, number one, I I'm gonna have to claim ignorance here. What does corporate accounting look like? Like, what does your day to day look like in that work?
Um, well, the two different companies do two different. They were very different. Okay, so not all companies are created equal. I like to say that too. The one company I did more bookkeeping, but I also did a lot of 941X during that time when the 941X amended payroll forms, tax forms had to be submitted to the IRS. I did an enormous amount of those, as well as uh, I had two accounts there, so just month end bookkeeping, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for somebody like me, like if I have to look at a sheet for too long, it gives me hives. So I'm always interested to find out. I mean, what do you love about the work? What is it that just makes a great day of accounting work for you?
There's a lot of things I like and love about the work. I like that. It's like I'm addicted. I kind of got addicted in college on doing adjusting journal entries. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a slot machine that's not yours, but you get to go in there and, you know, manipulate things the way they should be and make them correct. And I don't know. It's almost like it's like a drug to me. I just like doing accounting. you know, uh,
That's way cool.
Cutting hair. I can do a haircut in 10 minutes, and it's just like, okay, next, next, next. But when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at somebody's books, I get I get to look into their lives, and I don't know if people understand this, but like, oh, well, they ate here and they like to go here, and they're buying stuff from this person for their whatever they're making in their company. I just find that interesting. Um, and the one person I was looking at, they were like going to a bar and going to a cigar place, and and that was their meeting, their business meeting that they had. And I thought it was awesome. I was like, how cool would that be if somebody invited me out to have a beer at a business meeting? That was really cool. I just like stuff like that. I find it interesting.
When you describe it, see, like I would say, there's no way this has got to be the world's most boring job. But just to hear you explain it that way, this is literally looking at people's lives through numbers. That is such a cool way to look at it, and it makes sense why you've had success in doing it. It sounds you must be amazing at this work, Kim. I don't know if I've heard anybody talk about their work like that.
Yeah, I just find it interesting. It adds more, and when you can give back to a business, say for instance, I'm going to bring it up, nonprofit. You know, I got to work on an account one time and it was pretty amazing, and I was training on it. It was just filling out the grants that they have to report. It was their pay, but these people, they were giving out gift cards to battered women and children. And just being able to balance that, I was like, oh my God, it was a little sad in a way, but in the same aspect, it was great to help them out, to realize, hey, they've got this left and this is what they can offer somebody if somebody comes in, and they're not going to say no to them. I mean, that's important. So, yeah, that's kind of neat.
So, what prompted the end of that role? It sounds like things were going really well, and then one day it was just what happened?
Well, the one role was, and I was there for 2 years, just a staff accountant, and I was happy being a staff accountant. I don't need to be a supervisor. I've supervised and managed in salons, and it's just not for me. But just the work alone, the one place I came out of, let me get back on track. The one place I came out of was my mom's sickness. Honestly, I needed to take a step back. It was during busy
Right.
season. It wasn't fair to the company. It wasn't fair to me. So, and it wasn't fair for my mom either, because I'm her only child. I'm her only next to Ken, and I needed to be at that hospital. And then, therefore, after she came home, I needed to be here to help, with just daily things. It was tough stuff. It was 3 operations in 1 week. So, yeah. Um, the second job I worked at, they actually let me go because I had no work. So, and that was during busy season. Unfortunately, they had uh, lost a few people, a few uppers, and because of that, that trickled down. So, it's unfortunate. I love both companies. I still love them. I love them both. They're great companies. The teams were awesome. I learned a bunch at the second company. Very thankful for the time that they did give me. You know, the thing is finding another company out there that's similar to what I've been in, that is going to help me to grow while I'm helping them to grow. That's the tough part. Who wants to spend the time on me? That's the thing I'm
That
really
makes
looking at.
so that makes sense. So, and that's a good question. How many companies are out there that are structured that way? Because it sounds like it. Well, I guess I didn't ask you. Is it necessary for the company to be maybe a little bit closer knit, maybe a little smaller in size to have that kind of outlook? Where it would bring somebody in and have them help them grow, or what would that look like, or what does that look like in the real world?
Well, I'm afraid that the smaller companies tend to do more specific things, whereas the companies that I was at, as far as corporate accounting, there were many different facets to corporate accounting. There was forecasting, and also fixing their books, cleanup work. Um, some of the smaller places, maybe private places of business, may not be doing that. They just may be offering straight bookkeeping or straight taxes or something thereabouts. Audits as well. Some of your larger companies do the bigger audits for the bigger companies. So smaller companies may not have that vast selection. If you're wanting to grow into corporate accounting, where you want to eventually move up to management, be a supervisor, move up to manager, move up to partner, you know, you're going to be looking at a broad spectrum of things. For instance, cleanup work with one company that I helped with. It was projects. I love projects. You gotta love projects. There were several facets of that, but I was on the low side of those. Whereas, say, the manager was the one who was talking to the client and rearranging what they needed exactly, and I was the worker bee doing those things. Does that make sense? Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
So it sounds like the work you really enjoy is getting into, for lack of a better way to say it, like really getting into the weeds of the mechanics of what's going on with the account, making sure that everything is straight, looking for anomalies, kind of putting together the picture, making sure everything is optimized, and then really that's your favorite part of it. After then, you're just ready to move on to the next one. As far as so, is that a good summary?
Sorta.
What
I,
you
I
like
like the
work?
regular bookkeeping too, because I really, really want to know how this business, whatever business ticks. I want to know their ins and outs of everything, because I think I can serve them better if I know how their business works to begin with, their dynamics, so to speak.
Thinking about that, being able to be in a role where you can really learn about the business by doing the regular bookkeeping and adding value, I've got to think that you've probably got a story somewhere of some way where you got a chance to do that and then you were able to do something really cool for the business as a result. Could you tell us a little bit about one of those times?
Something really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like hey, you got to know the business and then all of a sudden,
I
yeah.
I did. Before I left the one company, I was able to, I had given my notice, because of my mom and everything, but I was able to train their incoming, I guess you would say, assistant to the CFO here in the U.S., because they were in two different countries. I was able to train her on some of the things that I normally did and give that back to them. So what the really cool thing was, you know, I could train her, she could understand it, I could spend the time with her so that she understood more of what the business was doing with, say, I'm going to just put it out there. Nobody knows this company, but I'm just going to put it out there. The commissions. So there was a commission part I had to train her on. It was very extensive, took a long time to do, and then also train her on Bill.com. Now, Bill.com has their own certification you can take, but it's a lot better if you hear it from somebody and they can train you on it, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget being able to help her out with that, because it was a lot she was taking on, stepping into that company, where she was being pretty much like an executive assistant, is pretty much what she was. So, but that saved that company some money in the long run, because it took it out of the company I was at, and they were able to save quite a bit of money doing that, because that was, what they charged, like 300, somewhere around $300 an hour for me to do it. And the report was 3 hours long. So that's every month. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I've even scratched the surface of just how much it just sounds to me like an insurmountable amount of work and you're attacking it with a smile all the time. That's
Yeah. I
amazing.
loved it. I loved doing it. I really, really did. That company was my baby. I loved them to death. They were great companies, still are. So yeah. It kind of gives you a
Cool.
feeling like you're part of them, when you're doing their work, because you really are. So that's the really cool thing about it.
Oh yeah, that's an amazing way to look at it. Like you're part of their team. You're literally helping them do what they're there to do. That's that's such an empowering way to look at the work. It's easy to see where the purpose comes from when you talk about it like that. That's so cool, Kim.
Yeah.
So now you're on the hunt. What does that look like?
Oh, okay. I've got an outline for that. So basically, every day I'm getting up. I've probably changed my resume on the regular. I do tweak it every week. There's something on there that I change every week, and it's just getting better and better. And this is like since college I've changed it, and I've added to it. And I'm trying to keep the the one page thing, but with my background, I'm on 2 pages and I can't help it. I just can't help it. And you get all kinds of feedback. Well, maybe it should be 1 page. The recruiters are doing the 1 pagers, but it misses out. Okay, well, that's only, 3 years, not even 3 years. What about my internship? What about the 3 years I worked as a director of financial aid at a post-secondary school, and I was the SEO and all this, for Veterans Administration. And it misses all of that info out of it. So now I'm just like 2 pages, here it is. And I feel like the employers really want to see what you've done in your life, because that's one of the questions they ask. Well, tell me about yourself. And when I pop out and say, well, I was the director of financial aid at a post-secondary school, they're like, what? Because that's hard work. That's a lot of hard work, because you have to know federal aid first off. The funding, the VA funding, how do they get it, and helping students sign up and all this great stuff, So anyways, off track again. I went to the 2 pager, and that's it. That's the final thing. So after I usually tweak that, usually when I get up in the morning, first thing I do is hit my cell phone with coffee, and I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling my emails. Hey, what did I get? Can I do this? What is this? I'm not an auditor. Oh, taxes. Everybody's hiring for tax right now. They're gearing up for tax season. Not in tax. There's no entry level tax, because mostly entry levels are straight out of college. So I missed that train somewhere. Unless there's ways I can get to it that I can do it. But so that's basically what my morning looks like: coffee and looking at jobs, seeing if I can do them, because a lot of them have NetSuite on them. I don't do NetSuite. I don't know anything about NetSuite. So I wish I did, but they charge $500 for the certification to do that. So I'm also looking at, okay, what can I do to make my profile on LinkedIn look better? Well, you see it all the time. It's saying to post. Well, you can post, but I don't ever know what to post. So I go and look at other people's stuff, hence how we met. So I just happened to come across yours, and I posted what I thought on it, and that they can still see that on your profile, if somebody's looking for it. So they still see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, absolutely. So just being active, seeing what's going on out there, and there's a lot of political stuff, and, coming from, what Trump has done. And so, you look into that and the changes and everything, and you get on there and you talk about it. You keep involved with your career and what you're doing. You don't just give up because the job does. You keep going.
No, that sounds like a really good way to stay connected, at least in some way, while
Yeah,
you're in the middle of the hunt, because it's
right.
pretty
So
isolating, I gotta think, to
so while you're looking and while
grinding
I'm
through job
scrolling, I'm
every
also
day.
networking too. So, you're doing multiple things. That's what I do in the morning. Anyways, that's my morning. After that, I'm so dang stressed out. It's like, okay, what do I need to do now? Well, I'll tell you what life looks like for me is I am able to, after all the lovely hours I've put in, 2 hours of commute a day. I'm looking at a 40 or 50-hour week. They required 55, so I'm really putting in another 10, 65 hours a week because of the commute. And I put the commute in with the hours I work, because it takes away from my private time and my family. So I often add that in, and I think that's so important. A lot of people don't do that. So I'm trying to catch up on stuff that I haven't done at home, you know, from these jobs I've been working. And it's making me feel better, because it's like, oh, I need to clean my floor. And it's the simple things. I need to clean my floor, because let me tell you what, on weekends, I'm not here. I'm not at home. I go to my significant other's house. Okay. And we have a garden over there. We have chickens over there. I have canning to do during the summer. I have dehydrating to do. I have to put food up for winter time. Clean the eggs. The eggs go to two houses, his house and here. So I'm helping my family be able to survive. First of all, I don't know, a little while ago, everybody was struggling to buy eggs. So we kind of like started selling them on the side to the neighbors. That was really cool. That was a little extra bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm super into homesteading. So that takes up a lot of my summertime, regardless if I'm working or not. Um,
What's homesteading?
Growing your own food. I make my own soap. I have made my own detergent. That was a big click back. A lot of women were doing that. Of course, the stores got savvy and raised the prices on the basic things for laundry detergent.
Oh,
Yeah, they found out, I guess. But I put up my own herbs during the summer. I've made my own. This is going out on a stretch, but I've made my own furniture. I love taking something and making something new out of it. So, with that knowledge, I was picking up pallets, and I found some beautiful cherry wood pallets that were, from another country. I made sure they were the right kind because a lot of them have the poison spray on them, so you have to be careful what you pick up. Made a little, like, maybe vanity or cabinet for the bathroom to put tiles in and stuff out of pallet wood. So I've got
goodness.
plans. Yeah, I've got plans to make my own bar, my own tiki bar. That'll be fun to
Oh,
do.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. So just out of just redoing pallet wood. So
That's awesome. So it sounds like you do a lot of things that help make it sustainable, as rough as this is to say, sustainable to live on less, right? In the meantime.
absolutely, that's how I grew up. So that's the only thing I know. Yeah, I'd love to go out and buy my own tiki bar, but it ain't going to be mine, and I didn't put the work into it, and I don't think I'd appreciate it as much. So, I mean, that's just the way I am. So, shoot, I was 11 years old. I put up ceiling fan for my mom. I painted her house at 11, and I started mowing grass at 11. So there's not much I don't know how to do. I know how to lay ceramic floor. I can put up sheetrock, which is what this ceiling was done. I did the ceiling. Of course, I got some tiles I got to fix. Sheetrock was done in here. I did that with help, of course. You're a little heavy, but
Right.
ran the electric myself in here. So because I did that, and that was my first job. Electronics and electric, same thing. But I mean, there's not much I don't know how to do. So
Amazing.
that's why I want to learn accounting. I want to learn more about accounting. I know accounting, but I want to learn more about accounting. And that's why I'm so interested in it, and that's why I'm sticking to this field. I don't have to stand for 8 hours a day cutting hair and hurt my body
Right.
either. So, and I love the culture. I love the culture of some of these companies. They're just great. They're like close-knit families in there. So,
That that sounds like you've got so many things in line. So you there must be a vision. Like if Kim could create the ideal job, what would that look like for you? Like this is the best. This is exactly the accounting job I would make for myself. What would that look like for you?
what would that look like? I just honestly, my best job is just being a staff accountant and learning from my coworkers. There, that field, like hairdressing, there's only so much that you can learn, and then you're done. There's no more else to learn unless you go off for a PhD, in chemistry, you know, for color, or the breakdown of hair and everything like that. You already learned some of that, but accounting, it's such a large field, vast field of different things you can learn between auditing. I would love to be a forensic auditor or a forensic accountant. I think that is so awesome. That is like CIA spy stuff. You can sit there and look through find the money that's missing type of thing, And I think that's really cool. I just watched a spy movie this morning, but yeah. So, it's just that kind of stuff is really cool. Will I ever get there? I don't know, but I can try. So I can just
Oh,
keep
that's
trying,
that,
just
that
do the forensic
that's
stuff,
it.
but I got to start somewhere. And I'm not entry, but I'm not mid-level either. So I've got to still go back into the bookkeeping and learn a little bit more. I learn by doing, you know. So years ago we didn't have internet. You learned at the library, or you learned from somebody who knew the skill, right? So
Uh,
nowadays, and this is something I said during my post on your page was, you know, learn stuff that's going to help you succeed in your career, that's going to look good maybe on your LinkedIn while that employer's looking at your LinkedIn. Learn some new skills, if you're not a crafter like I am, or, you know, crocheting's not for you, or woodworking's not for you, then learn something else. I went ahead, QuickBooks for me. QuickBooks bookkeeping certification was free, didn't cost me anything. They have Intuit. Intuit, same people. Intuit has your individual tax certification, and we only have a few days left, but they were offering $100 this month to go ahead and finish the course and test out with a passing grade, and they give you $100. So I don't know if you guys knew
oh,
that, but
dang.
I got it. They have the business
That's
tax.
awesome.
They have the business tax course on there that you can take and get certification for too. All of that looks good on your LinkedIn page. There's, I think, Sage, Oracle. There are multiple training programs on there for certifications that you can get on it, and they're free. They're free. So that's something else that I do. Part of my morning routine is I get on there and I see what I can learn. If I can learn it, I'm not going to pay for it. My money needs to go to my bills right now and survival. So if there's a way for me to get on there and learn something, I'm going to, but it's not going to cost me anything. I'm not going to pay for it. So, but that's all great stuff to put on your LinkedIn. If you're a data entry person, maybe typing skills, I don't know. There's several things out there, but take a typing test, post your scores, whatever, just the little simple things, the little pieces of your career that come together and make you awesome. you know um, there's nothing wrong with bettering yourself. So yeah,
No, for sure. So, how do you find all these things? It sounds like there's a ton of opportunities out there. Like, how are you finding these?
because Firefox and Google are awesome. You just search. Here's
So, do
here's
you
another
literally
hint.
just search like free course?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't search free course. So here's another hint. On all these job applications that you have, you're looking for the job skills that you need, right? They're going to list what they want out of you. And if there's a program or an ERP or something that I don't know about, it's going to be in that list. It's on the job applications. The job descriptions, you would just write it. I write them down and I'm like, oh, I'm not familiar with that. And then I go ahead and search for it, and see if they've got anything on there for training. For instance, the Oracle or the Sage thingy. I've been on Sage a couple of times and done some things. It's fairly easy to use, but nobody hiring me as an employer is going to know that I know a little bit about it. I might tell them, yeah, I know a little bit, but they're going to think, oh, well, they don't really know anything, or they don't know enough. So why don't I go ahead and just get certified in it, and go down through their because they have, oh my gosh, I was looking at it yesterday. They had so many things on their webpage that you could learn, and get certified, put it up on your LinkedIn. It goes on your resume. Bam,
That's
So
great.
Yeah.
So do you just find like the certifications that they're looking for, and then do you just search them up and see what you
Yes.
can find for? Okay.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. So,
That is such a cool tip. It's one of those things that I probably should have thought of, but didn't. They
yeah.
really have free things out here to help me learn this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're doing a ton of upskilling. You're looking for the right move for you. You're doing everything you can, it sounds like, to keep your expenses as low as possible and allocate your cash to making sure that you're able to survive in the meantime. What are the jobs that you're applying for? What are the ones that tend to get an apply from you?
The ones that I apply to are the ones that I absolutely sit there, and I don't know what it is or why I heard this, but I sit there and I read the job descriptions. If there's anything in that job description that I know I can't do, or they say is not entry level, then I don't apply to them. I'm not going to set myself up for failure. Okay. So I only apply to those that, and there's some of them there that say they will train you, but I only apply to those that list the skills that I know I've already done. And this is going through my head, I just see journal entries. Well, yes, I've done that. Month end close. Yes, I've done that. Year end, I've done it once. But, if they're willing to train, hey, that's great too. So I apply to those. Now, have I gotten interviews? Yes, I've gotten interviews. I did have 2 in-person interviews. I made the mistake. The first one was a great, great company, but found out they're over an hour away. Okay. I don't like driving that far. And, they had said something in the interview that they drive that far every day. Well, that's great for them, but a 10-hour day for me is not great. I don't want to do 10 hours a day. What does busy season look like? 15 hours? No, I'm not going to do it. So if I was 20, 30, even 40 something, I'm not. I would
What?
I would do something like that. So, yeah. I'm 3 years from 60. I just turned 57. So,
Oh man.
yeah,
Well,
I share my
it must be
age.
that
It's
scrappiness
good.
that keeps you going. You just seem I mean, you're just doing everything. Like it's so cool to see
Yeah.
because you're you're thinking these things through, you're taking care of yourself, you're honest and upfront about what it is you can do well. You know what you want. I mean, all of these things are so valuable and you're making things happen. I mean, you're very vibrant, and
Yeah.
that's one of those things that it doesn't matter what the age is. There are plenty of people, and I mean, I imagine in accounting, I imagine an accountant to be like this. Yes, so we've done this thing, and here's this, and whatever. And you're not like that at all. You see so much value in the work that you're doing and that you want to do,
Actually, accountants
and
are
in the way
pretty
you live your
funny. You
life.
have no clue. They love to
Dang,
eat too.
I need to talk to some more accountants.
Yes, yes. I thought I
We
got
have
away
that
from
in
that with the
common.
hairdressing because they all like to eat, but accountants like to eat too, and they like to eat good food. So some are also wine connoisseurs, which is pretty cool. But
I can see it.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, so bad on me, and I thought it would have been great because some of my background involved what they actually do. I had another interview. I had several interviews. I had a lot of online interviews too, and those were fun. And one of them, and I just love these recruiters that reach out because I know they got something in store for me when they call. But but one of them, I was a great person. I was told I had a great personality, but they went with somebody else, and I'm like, oh, okay. So that was one of them, and I just went on an interview I think it was last Monday or last week sometime. And that was really fun. I still haven't heard back from them, but they're only right down the street, and I love what they do. So,
Oh,
yeah, I absolutely love what they do. So, and it is giving back to the community, which is great. So I'm waiting. I might not hear from them, but that's okay too. But in the meantime, there's a lot of stuff you can do. And I got to put this out there. The food drives now, you don't have to, give them your finances. Some of them are, there's no requirement. If there's a food insecurity, you need to reach out, you need to Google it and find out where your closest pantry is, because that could help you to stay a little stable while you're looking for a job. Okay. And I've had to do, I'm not ashamed to say I've had to do it. I've had to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Sometimes we have to do things that way. And unfortunate, it's only temporary. It's not forever. So, also, Goodwill. I don't know if you can see that little head right there, but that is a 1970s version. I'm just going to cut scene for a minute. 1970s version of Raggedy Andy. I bought for $4.09. Raggedy Andy 1970 is going to go up for sale pretty soon. So there's other things you can do to make money, and it might be thrifting. I like the thrift stores. But yeah, I just happened to come across this guy. I love him. Little Andy over there. This little redhead Andy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you see
Yeah.
it?
So,
Can you see it? Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like. I mean, it's back there. So, where do you sell then? Because that's a really neat idea that I wonder if a lot of people have considered.
Um, it's really popular, and I don't do eBay, but I do have an Etsy. So a lot of the stuff that I do as far as crafting, I put up on Etsy, and I've got a bunch I need to put up on my crochet stuff. It's not going to pay the bills, but it's going to help, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
also, Facebook Marketplace, there's always somebody looking for stuff on there. Um, that's a great place, especially if it's local. So I don't do Craigslist either. It's just kind of scary, spooky for me. So
Yeah, I don't know if anybody does
yeah,
Craigslist anymore. It
yeah,
used to be really good, but now it's kind of, oh, my number? No. My
right,
email address?
right. Yeah, and all those sites, there's ways of protecting yourself. But with the Etsy, there's not only Etsy. I think there's some other platforms out there that you can sell your stuff on, or crafts or collectibles or whatever. Um, and that's something I had put in the post about, put together a yard sale, put together some kind of whatever sale, buy a booth at the flea market for I think it's $12 up the road from me, and pop some stuff out there and sell it, simple, and that might pay your cable bill. That's something else I wanted to bring up, cable bill. And these are things that I've had to cut back on too. So, for instance, cable bill. You can absolutely ditch your cable, keep your Wi-Fi, okay, because we have to have Wi-Fi. Buy
Right.
buy yourself an antenna so you get the local channels, and these are they're digital now, and they actually work really, really well. So I still get my local Fox and Channel 2 and all that, but I have a Roku or a smart TV, and I do stuff like that on there. I watch movies, or they have streaming TV. It's not the best. If it gets boring, then I just hop off and I start looking for things how to improve myself. It's a constant thing where I'm constantly doing something to get ahead or to survive. And this is something I have set up and done for most of my life. So I know how to walk the walk with trying to survive, you see. If
I,
you've got kids, look into the local support, and you may be too proud, but you need to stop, because you need to be able to support your kids too with food and all that. Look into food stamps. Look into, if they're young enough, if you can get childcare. There's childcare now. And if all else fails, go back to school. Because I love school. I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school because it's not working. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well, I can see how there are so many of these things and it's easy to see how you're stringing these things together, either cutting back on things, doing some things that yourself if you can, and then finding other ways of
right,
bringing in income that are helping in
right,
the meantime.
right.
There, so obviously, it seems like tell me if this is right. It seems like your upbringing has prepared you for the wilderness of the 2025 job market nonsense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
uh, even then, right? Like there's still got to be you've obviously got this internal drive, this just this brightness about you. So where does that come from? And where does that hope and that drive come from to keep finding ways and to keep going?
Gosh, I couldn't tell you. Deep breath. I'm not sure. I guess it's the fact that I've been through so much change in my life, and it doesn't necessarily mean careers, but personal life, that I know change is always good. There's always going to be things that come at you, you know. Gosh, in the 80s when it's coming at you, God, that's a flashback. But woo, okay, but yeah, but there's, where there's a will, there's a way. I'm going to survive regardless if I land that job in accounting or step back into the salon or freelance or venture out into my MBA because I have an MBA, and do management, shift manager. I'll do what I got to do because really, honestly, at the end of the day, the important people in my life are in this house. So, it's just a matter of surviving something that
Absolutely.
human nature, we as humans have done for thousands of years. So, yeah.
It's true. So what would you say to somebody who maybe is maybe they've been working and maybe they're 5 years into their career, so they haven't had maybe as many experiences, have a different upbringing, and don't have as much maybe education and breadth of, let's say, experience again, but different things that they have dealt with as you have. What would you say to them as a way to keep up hope, or what would you encourage them to do to keep going during this rough job market?
Okay. So, I mean, somebody that's already in a position that's not exactly happy with their position, they need to decide on what's going to make them happy, while they're in this position, while they're working where they're working, and really ask themselves a lot of questions. What exactly do I not like about this job? And then look for something that does make them happy. What do they need to do that switch? How is that going to affect the finance? Because it does affect your finances when you switch jobs. I don't care what you say. It might be for less pay, it might be for more pay, but you need to really think about that and you need to research it. You need to see what's out there, first of all. Are you going to like it? Like the company, follow the company feeds. If there's a certain company that maybe you want to go to, and that's really what I've done. Network is so important, and of course that's part of the daily looking for jobs too, is networking. um, don't shut the door on advancement, and that's the way I feel. um, you've got to be somewhere where you're happy at what you do, because if you're not happy at what you're doing, then why are you even doing it? That's, who wants to come home and be totally miserable from their whole day? Not me. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
you just got to
Yeah,
start
that's
reaching out and start doing it. Start doing the footwork. Start doing the hours that it takes to find something you really, really want to do. What do you need to get there? How do you need to get there? What are the steps that you have to take? And I'm sure Google and Firefox have those steps somewhere. There are
I'm
steps
sure.
out
If
there.
nothing else, I'm sure that
Yes.
no, that's great.
They are
Would
my
would
go-to,
you
trust
add
me.
or change? I clearly,
Yeah.
yeah. Would you add or change anything about that advice if you were talking to somebody who, say, they were let go from a job, or is somebody who's maybe been searching for a while and has sent out, maybe 600 resumes into the void, and they're getting very few interviews, and they're starting to, maybe they're on the verge of losing their housing, and they're in really rough shape. Is there anything that you would add
Yeah.
that you want to share with them?
Have they reached out to the local programs that help with housing to help people keep their houses? because there's programs out there. I don't know if they've done that. Um, the people that are on the verge of losing their house, I got to say this, change is not always bad. It's okay if they lose their house because they're going to get back on their feet. Okay. They're not, it's just like I was telling you before about my friend who came from Arizona. This was before this podcast, that came from Arizona, was literally on the streets. He's back on his feet. It was only a short period of time and he learned from it. And you have to take these times that are very hard or difficult and learn from them. If you don't and you come across this again, how are you going to know what to do? You have to really just kind of pick yourself up and keep going. So unfortunately, people do lose their homes, and that's very sad. But there's going to be someone somewhere that wants to help or wants to, be able to pick you up, help you get back to your feet, or show you the path or the way to get there. Does that make sense?
It does. It's so hopeful, and that's why I've been so excited to get a chance to speak with you, because it's hard, right? In the moment, it's horrible. It The sky is maybe literally falling, but things are going to change
Right.
as long as you'll hang in there for long enough. And
And
it's
also
so
too, there's all these little drive things. If you need groceries and you don't want to go to the food drive, uh, Uber's on my phone. I hate to tell you. I'm not too good to do that. I will go. Hey, in my 20s, I delivered pizza. So I know all about food delivery, delivering to people. And I wasn't in a good place. I was in downtown Atlanta when I did it. So, I have reached out. These are things that I've done as a younger Kim, when I could do them. I used to clean houses, for a living and support my family and my daughter and, my husband at the time. And we also went around and cleaned gutters at houses. We mowed lawns, just to buy groceries, because we were, didn't have any, food in the house. So, I mean, ramen noodles and chicken, but that was about it. But we've had to reach out and kind of do those side jobs too, and if you're not savvy with lawns or whatever, there are side jobs online. LinkedIn has a thing, and where you can get on there and freelance. I've certainly signed up for it. So I'm hoping somebody will reach out and say, hey, can you do this for us? But and who doesn't know how to research? I don't know. Maybe everybody I know knows how to research. So that's definitely one freelance thing you could do, is research. So that's a
so
lot of fun
when you
too.
say research, what does that look like?
It depends on what the company's looking for you to research. So yeah,
So
it just
companies
all depends on
will
the
actually
job.
pay
Y-
they'll pay
yeah,
somebody to do research on a certain thing that they're looking to do.
right. If it fits the person who needs to, who's doing the freelancing. So yeah, so pretty interesting. But yeah, you know, all of those things that you do, I gotta say, to survive, actually add up over time. You were talking about the person who's been looking and putting in thousands of resumes and stuff like that. Well, I hate to tell you, but that's me. I've been doing that. It's depressing. There's some real depression with not getting any feedback. Those that offer me feedback, I welcome it and I thank them. But on the other side, being ghosted is not fun either. And I've seen a lot of talk on LinkedIn about this. It is real depressing. What do I do to pick myself back up? I've got my family, first of all, who I love very, very much. My grandbaby. But I also have my crafting and my hobbies. And there's something about sitting there doing monotonous things with my hand, whether it be it's my beadwork right there, beadwork or my crochet or whatever, that pulls the stress out of me. And one has to think, okay, I am just set for something better. tomorrow's going to be a better day. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do the same thing over. Something's got to give somewhere, you know, and that's the hope I try to have. And then I have every day. But do I get down and depressed? Oh, heck yeah, I do. I don't know of anybody who wouldn't. So I just keep going. Something's going to open up. I'm a fit somewhere. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing so many practical things. I mean, sharing so much about yourself and sharing so many practical ways that we can keep things going until something changes. And it's so cool to see. I just from your upbringing and everything that you dealt with, just even as a child, to the different experiences that you've had throughout your career and the different things that you've done, and then your attitude of, okay, let's find a way to do this, and using the technology as it's come and the opportunities that have been out there, and using your voice to attract the types of folks that you want to be connected with. It's so cool to see how this is setting you up. Like, I can see it, and I know this means nothing from a guy on the internet, but I can totally see how you have set yourself up for bigger and better things. And when it happens, the value you're going to add is going to be even greater than it already is. So I thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you.
unique awesomeness with me and with anybody who listens. I, y'all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking some things away. Thank you for believing, most of all, that you are awesome. Kim has showed it. Look at what she's doing, and that you can become more awesome through the things you're doing, even during the wait. The most important thing is to hang on until things change, because they're going to. Keep
Yeah.
on making the attempts. It just takes one. When the next, so if you haven't yet, now is a great time to hit the subscribe button so that you're informed the next time an episode comes out. Whatever you do, remember how valuable you are, and no matter what, keep going. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you again, Kim.
Thanks. Bye.